Welcome to Daily Meditation with Sangha Live.
So, good morning, everyone. It's Thursday and it's great to be with you all. And we're going to talk about interconnectedness this morning again. And we're going to talk about complexity this morning and what the two have together or have in common or how they influence each other. And just the usual bits and pieces. I love to read your good mornings and your welcomes, and this chat box is a way of creating Sangha for us in this online way. So many thanks for those of you who are attending to the online chat. And if you like to leave your good mornings there, and also feel free to leave your reflections and your insights there if you want me to read them. Put a word in front of it so that I notice that I can address this. And then there I enabled allowed the question box. So you've got this square little box with a question mark right next to the chat box. And if you have any upcoming questions, anything you would like me to reflect on, maybe attempt an answer, you can put that in the question box as well. One thing I'd like to mention is that sometimes the question is a very personal one, and out of due respect and to honor the complexity of your life, I might not be able to give an extended or detailed answer. Sometimes a one-to-one conversation is necessary to clarify the specifics of your life. So you might notice that I will not answer some of the very personal questions. You can ask them. Sometimes I have a quick idea, and sometimes I would need to ask a whole lot of questions to understand picture, get a rough understanding of the picture of your life. So yeah, just to name that. Great. Now we are going to start. I'm going to talk for about 15 minutes, then we're going to practice with it, and then afterwards there will be time for sharing and exploration. Great. So let's talk about the theme for today is embracing complexity. Yeah. So this is one aspect one might not immediately come up with when one thinks about interconnectedness. But when we think about interconnectedness, not only as being connected with other people, or other beings, but actually interconnectedness more in the sense the Buddha referred to as conditioned arising, dynamics coming together, several dynamics coming together, creating what we call an experience, creating what we call another dynamic, creating what we perceive. This is me, this is mine, this is who I am in any given moment. Dynamics are coming together, creating fresh dynamics, rippling out into other dynamics. And if we look at it from this angle, we have a whole lot of complexity. Yeah, we're living in a web. Interconnectedness could also be called a web of complexity. Yeah. It's a huge field. Yeah, if we really open up to it, it can get a bit, it can get much. Yeah. And it's not easy for us to cope with this complexity, not on an action-based level. Yeah, sometimes I hear people do this in lovely ways. They think about what they contributed to a situation, what others contributed to a situation, where they are coming from, where oneself is coming from, what the outer circumstances were, and they bring all these dynamics together. And sometimes this can be so much that then we are left with a sense of helplessness to say, okay, now I understand where everything is coming from, but now it's also so complex, that I'm almost missing the ability to do the next step. What do I do with this complexity? And it's not easy for our minds to cope with this either. If we look into our minds, into the human mind, we will notice a tendency, to reduce complexity, make it simpler. we look out into the world and how media works and how messages work, make it simple. Yeah. If it's simple, it can be put into action. If it's simple, we can differentiate the word into boxes, right boxes, wrong boxes, those who are the victim boxes and those who are the responsible one boxes. Yeah. And this gives us clear direction and clear orientation. And this is what our minds love. Yeah. Okay, tell me what to do, the mind says, and I can move into, I can be the agent of action. But if there's just complexity, I'm stuck. Yeah. So it's understandable, and so to a certain degree, it's necessary. We make almost out of this field of complexity. If you just notice the fabric of the moment you're currently in, yeah. If we were able to be aware at all our sense doors and inwards and outwards alike, you would be aware of almost an infinite amount of experience. Yeah, what we hear and what we smell and what we see and the thoughts coming up and the physical dynamics. Yeah, and it would be a lot. Yeah, it would be a lot. It would be too much. Yeah, and so we have natural filters of perception going on, giving the one more importance and suppressing a little, moving it into unconsciousness, the other, so that we highlight one thing and then can act upon that thing. And also with what we perceive, we put it into boxes. We live most of our life, we live on a level of concepts. Yeah, you see me on the screen and you don't see only pixels moving, you see Ulla. Yeah, and you have a name for that, and you probably have an emotional connection. Doesn't have to be an intense one to that, liking, not liking, sympathy, no sympathy, whatever it is. Yeah, and then you turn around in your room and you see this piece of furniture, that piece of furniture. So we have a tendency to reduce complexity in order to be able to act in this world and interact with each other. Yeah. Sometimes if we talk about emptiness in these teachings, we remind each other that, well, the person you woke up next to this morning or the first person you met this morning isn't exactly the person you met yesterday. And if you listen and look at yourself, you're probably not either. Yeah. But to be aware of this constant flux can be a lot. So we have this tendency to simplify. And I find this a natural and a human tendency, and it has its place, and it's keeping me in action. But if I overdo that, if I oversimplify, I can fall into a lot of harmful traps in my life. And the world, you will, if you listen, you will notice maybe that a lot of reference to the state of the world as well. What does oversimplification look like? It's usually a mind which creates a one cause, one result, one cause, one effect relationship. If I do A, then B will happen. Yeah. And if I hold on to that too tightly, guilt and blame will arise. Who has done that? Yeah. Who has done that? Who is responsible for the dukkha? And we run into a lot of troubles in our lives if we think that every dukkha has a single cause which is responsible, and if I remove that cause, yeah, I will be happy ever after. Yeah. To say every dukkha, every unpleasantness in our lives is a problem, and I need to find someone to be responsible for that. It robs us of all our capacity of resilience. Yeah. It also robs us of the capacity of compassionate response, because sometimes the answer to the dukkha is not who has done that. Yeah, am I guilty? Is it my fault? Yeah, that's not always the most helpful response. The question sometimes could be, I don't know whose fault it is. I don't know who is responsible for that. But what I know is that it matters to take care of it. Yeah. And not only do we approach mistakes and failure this way, but we approach our goals in the same way. Yeah, meditation practice. Perfect example. If I do A, then B will happen. If I meditate enough, my mind will be calm. If I practice enough mindfulness, I will have an easier life. Yeah. If I sit on the cushion, meditate on the breath, then I will experience some level of samadhi. Yeah. If only it were that simple. Yeah. So there is, you notice today and in the upcoming days, this one-to-one relationship between failure and mistakes and guilt and blame. Yeah, that is the one direction. And between goals and ways to the goal. Yeah, is there a single relationship between a cause and a result I want to have? And if it's that simple, it doesn't have to be necessarily always wrong, but at least I wake a bit up to say, oh wow, let me really check that if the mind did some oversimplification at that point. Am I not taking something into consideration? And if you meditate, for example, and you just sit there and say, if I meditate, my mind should become calm. And that's a perfect example for how little learning there is. Yeah, it's not the fact that you're meditating which will make your mind calm eventually. It's the fact that while you're meditating, you can train a lot of capacities, a lot of faculties in your chitta and your heart mind, which will make it more likely that the mind will be some of the time calm. Yeah, and then you see how my speech gets relativistic, because I want to consider other factors which could play into that. And then there is a learning. Yeah, this one-to-one relationship, it robs us of all potential for learning, because I think, well, it's supposed to be this way. Why isn't it working? Yeah. So the simplistic approaches often do not do justice to the complexity. And keep in mind that they are kind of, and I said this right in the beginning of our session today when I told you that some of the questions you bring to me and some of the personal challenges you bring to me can't be answered here by me just reading 5 lines and then responding to that, because I would not honor and not respect the complexity of who you are and the complexity of the dynamic you're in. Yeah. So sometimes oversimplification really does not honor and respect the complexity of a situation, of a relationship, the complexity of the world. Yeah. And sentences like, if only, if only he would do that, if only they would acknowledge, if only they would realize, if only I could, are a sign that there is a lot of pressure, but not a lot of insight into the dynamics which bring the situation together. I find that hanging on to too much simplicity, of course my mind loves it, and of course every mind loves a 5-step plan. If you do A, B, C, D, then you got the wished for result. And you look on YouTube, and I'm not on Instagram, and I'm not on other social media. I'm just sometimes on YouTube, but it's full of that. And I assume Instagram and other things might be as well. Easy steps. What I find frequently on YouTube is 3 things, or 3 steps you need to take, or 3 things to avoid. Saying, gosh, this is a reduction of complexity. And with this, sometimes a little doubt comes up within me to say, is someone handing me over the next easy, simple solution to a thing which is really, really complex? And if we hang on or give ourselves over and over again to simplicity, or an oversimplified perspective on a dynamic, what can happen is that we develop too little resistance and too little curiosity to hang in with the complexity of something. We get easily frustrated and say to ourselves or someone else, this approach isn't working. this approach isn't working, and look for the next approach. I find the Buddha Dharma, to be infinitely complex. Every time I think I got something pops up on the other end and say, okay, I need to dive into that and explore that. And even after years of teaching and even more years of practicing, I find more depth to concepts like mindfulness. It's almost the beauty of it is that it's infinitely deep. And if my sense of self doesn't get in the way and tells me I need to get it, I need to know it by now, I'm a teacher, I'm supposed to know it, it's okay. It's just a deep and complex field. But I need to hang in with it. If I get easily frustrated with the complexity, get easily frustrated because, for example, my meditation isn't working when the heart mind is in this state, I might just always surf on the surface of things, not really getting in touch with the depth. And the next thing to consider is, the mind loves new and exciting. It loves new and exciting solutions. It loves new and exciting teachers. It loves new and exciting approaches and books and whatever it is. My mind definitely would like to read yet another book before touching the cushion again. It would prefer the new and shiny rather than the old and habitual, known. So if you notice a pattern in your life that when the mind is moving to new and exciting and then loses interest, and then moves to new and exciting and loses interest, there might be the question whether we need to practice a little more resistance, to complexity, and not resilience. Pardon me, resilience. Practice a little resilience with complexity and a little curiosity to say, I'm giving myself to complexity. It's Dharma practice, and I believe probably whole life, or at least the development of wisdom, is like having a 3,000 piece puzzle. And I know the feeling that if you sit in the front of a 3,000 piece puzzle, the beginning might be, first there might be enthusiasm. You were very much looking out for doing this thing. And after maybe half an hour, the overwhelm started to think, I'm never going to manage this. And then it's the question about hanging in, giving myself to hanging in. So practicing with the interconnectedness of things, practicing with conditioned arising, means to honor and respect the complexity within yourselves, within relationships, and the world. And this means to me there are no easy solutions and no easy answers. There is no perfect solution. The world is too complex for perfect solutions. It's too much in flux. It's too much moving. And we will always have to do some sense of balancing out. It's not that you find a sweet spot, whether it's in meditation and now I got it and now I have it for the rest of my life. But it's almost like learning in a more fluent and agile way to balance things out, rather than to be stuck somewhere at the extremes. So a couple of remarks, and then we're going to go to practice. What does this mean for your practice path? Whether you're on a mindfulness path or a Dharma path or an insight path, doesn't really matter, or any spiritual path, or just life. A couple of things, or a couple of views which help me out is I do not expect linear progress anymore. I do not expect that I put in X amount of mindfulness and will get X amount of insight, healing, calm, etc. In the very beginning of my practice, I wanted to lower my level of frustration and irritation, and it didn't happen for such a long time. But people told me all of a sudden I'm a better listener. I wasn't even looking in that direction. I do not expect a linear approach. And I also recognize that life and spiritual practice, it's cyclical, it's meandering, it's more of a spiral than a beautiful straight line upwards. And it is a combination of many factors. This path is complex. The Buddha made up an eightfold path, which, if we look closely, it touches every aspect of our lives. Every aspect of your life is practice. And then we can say, oh, how much? Yeah, this feels overwhelming to say slowly. You have all the time in the world, and every moment can now be a practice moment. Yeah. And sometimes you will lead more into the meditation and mindfulness direction, and sometimes you will need more into the direction of learning skillful speech or exploring ethics, yeah, or exploring how your views and perspectives come together. And we're always moving from one field of the Eightfold Path to the next. And then please allow this to be messy. It cannot be any other way than messy. Yeah. It's not that we control it. It's not that it needs to be beautiful. The whole path is a messy exploration where we will experience a lot of good enough, but not perfect, a lot of good intentions and not ideal expressions of our practice, and to come to terms with that. Yeah, to say what prevents this role of the teacher to become really painful is that I allow myself my whole life to be a student. Yeah, I don't have to have it. Yeah. So please learn to stay in this field of tension, the uncertainty, the messiness, the imperfect, the many-faceted. The Buddha, not the Buddha, it's in Indian tradition, neti, they say. Neither this nor that. Yeah, and this brings us back on the middle way. Great. Said enough. Let's bring it into practice. So, would you like to stand today or lie down? Would you like to move around in the room or to do some sitting practice? You decide. And once you've found your posture, allow some time for mindfulness to move from the consciousness of hearing and listening and maybe watching to move inwards towards the physical experience. Meeting and greeting parts of this body. Good morning, hands. Good morning, feet. Good morning, shoulders. Inviting the body to Settle into this posture, reassuring your nervous system that at the moment there is nowhere to go, there's nothing to do. So the hands can soften, the eyes can soften, and allow my voice to dissolve into the background so that the ears and the hearing and the listening can soften as well. And then let us take a quick glance into the world of 1001 experience. We start with the physical. Just listen into the echo of your body for a moment. And you will notice that not one thing, but many dynamics are going on. The tingling here and the moving there. A sense of stuckness here. Some contraction, some softness. There's nothing to do about it, just to acknowledge the almost constant stream of experience just on this physical level. You might notice that the mind is zooming in into one experience or the other as if it were the only one. Highlighting, emphasizing a certain experience. And if we notice that, we can very, very gently try to soften its grip around this experience. Not negating it, not pushing it away, it's there. But reminding ourselves that there's more to the body than just this. And after a while, you might extend the mindfulness to say, well, there are these physical expressions and there are many. And then there is also the sound coming to the ears. You don't need to go out and get some sounds. And then there is silence in between the sounds. And it's not so much that sounds or physical experience come to an end, but you might also notice that, oh, the sound is still there, but my attention is moving. Maybe it's hopping, maybe it's gliding, maybe it's drifting. If I don't hold it strongly on anything, it's just moving in this field, in this sea of 1001 experience. And then you, of course, notice other things as well. There might be an impulse to do something, to think something. There might be comments and analysis in the mind or some planning, an image arising, a push and pull, an urge in the heart. You might notice that within all this drifting and floating, the mind grasps on and highlights certain experiences, gets entangled or a bit overwhelmed. So why don't we bring the attention to something simple? Allow the attention to rest somewhere. Take a pause from these fields of complexity. And just see what an appropriate place, what an appropriate experience for the attention would be. Is it your breathing? Or is it a feeling of stability, feeling of softness, warmth? It might be a physical one, might be a response from the heart, resting in this sense of care, saying, oh yeah, I realize this is a lot. This is a lot to handle. Oh, dear attention, come here and rest in this sense of compassion arising, care arising. And rather sooner than later, the attention will wander back into the word with its alluring and threatening, with its intense and demanding experiences, trying to manage that, trying to understand that, trying to fix that. You can watch it for a while, see what it's doing, see what it's tending to. And then with care and patience and no harshness at all, saying, love, wouldn't it be more nourishing to come back into a very simple experience, just breathing, just feeling feet on the ground, just this sense of calm which arises when I know I don't have to do that. Maybe the attention moves outward 100 times. Maybe there is something which really feels exciting, threatening, burdening. Or maybe rather than very effortful, bringing it back every time, just see whether this sense of stability, ease, spaciousness, simplicity can be somewhere in the background of your experience. Maybe not able to bring it into the foreground, and that's okay. But can it do its work from the periphery? And then we very gently bring the attention to the whole body. Whole body sitting here, standing here, lying here, moving in this room. And whatever happens to you today, whatever complexity and dynamics you experience, this is something very simple to come back to. The Buddha says, when I stand, I know I'm standing. And when I sit, I know I'm sitting. When I walk, I know I'm walking. When I'm lying down, I know I'm lying down. And that is such an accessible simplicity during the day. To say a lot might be going on, and here's this simplicity of standing, standing. And with this, I invite you to start moving, stretching, yawning, taking a couple of deeper breaths. And then consciously come back to the room you're in.
Today's podcast is an offering to you from our archive of freely available live daily classes. We make wisdom teachings and meditations as freely available as possible to as many people as wish to practice. You can help ensure we can continue to support a worldwide Sangha by leaving a review wherever you get your podcasts, by sharing this with someone who'd be interested, and by offering a small financial support at sangha.live/donate.